First off, when you received the Bell script, appended to it was the postcard reproduction of this painting. What were your thoughts as you looked at it?
Well, to be honest with you, I received the painting, no script. So I just had the painting on its own to kind of look at and to kind of deduce what on earth was going on and why this painting was the way it was at a time when it was so untraditional, so unheard of to create a painting like this. I had a year before been taken by my lovely husband to a wonderful exhibition in Holland where we live that looked at the history of people of colour in art from about the 14th century onwards. And there it showed that we were accessories in that we were accessories in these paintings. People of colour were there to express the status of the main protagonist. So we were always lower down, always looking up at the white protagonist in the painting, always reaching up at them to draw your eye to that white protagonist. And suddenly I received this painting. It was so different. There Dido was with this beautiful sparkle in her eye, looking directly out at the painter. She's painted a little bit higher than Elizabeth, and it's Elizabeth that's actually, to my mind, lovingly reaching to Dido. And I mean, the first thing I thought was, who are these two girls? They look like they love each other. That's kind of what I felt. And the next thing I thought was, oh my God, well, if I get this right, I have the opportunity of kind of telling a story that combines politics, race, history, art. That's a gift. If you can tell a true story that can combine all of those things and it emanates from a painting, that's a gift. So those were my first thoughts.
Really. And it also is told in a literary Jane Austen-y way, yes. And it's also very visual.
The painting. So the colours inspired me, the relationship in the painting inspired me. Although you don't see Lord Mansfield, to me he's very present because you ask yourself, who commissioned this painting? You know, part of my research was finding out as much as possible about this man who was, as I say in the movie, next to the king, one of the most powerful men in England. And who was he that he had this choice to make Dido a servant in the family if he did want to take her in? She could have been Mabel, and that's why Mabel is there to show you that. Kept her warm and dry and fed. But he and his wife, Lady Mansfield, chose not to. And that choice was so brave and so courageous that though he's not actually painted, he's there. And also her mother. Though you never see her mother in the film, the reason why I wanted to call it Belle is because her mother was Maria Bell. And I wanted to honour her mother throughout the movie, even though, again, you never see her.
I believe we have a lot of people from the Jane Austen Society of North America here.
Hello.
And I know that you're a Janeite, as they call it.
I am.
Zealot.
Irrepressibly, unashamedly.
Jane Austen devotees.
Yes.
I have been asked by one of the members who's not here, what is your favorite Austen novel? And tell us about what you did as an Austen devotion.
Can I have a joint two?
Of
two
course.
Of them. Okay. So my favourite novel is Pride and Prejudice, but my favourite adaptation is Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility, and my favourite movie that I would like to adapt and started to adapt, and then Belle came along and kind of blew that out of the water, is one that hasn't been adapted yet, which is Lady Susan, because I just think she's so naughty, and somebody has to bring her to life, and some great actress has got to be able to portray that naughtiness on screen. And I see this kind of Dangerous Liaison-esque, Amoresque, Austen-esque type story that could be told there, so I love that. So no diary from Dido. There was a politician that came over to the Mansfield household called Hutchinson, who is infamous for one of his entries about Dido, and I am completely paraphrasing. I really need to learn this off by heart because I get asked so often. But he visits the house, he has dinner with the family. Dido is not there because it's a formal situation, and after dinner she joins the family, and he speaks about her walking arm in arm with Elizabeth, and being very much a part of the family. And this gentleman is over there, I use the term loosely, he's over there because he wants to lobby Lord Mansfield in relation to the Zong case, because whatever decision Lord Mansfield takes is going to have some kind of impact on America. And if Lord Mansfield makes a decision that will, if you like, strengthen the idea that slaves are also human beings, thus you cannot drown them, this is going to have an impact on America. So he's there to lobby Lord Mansfield not to do that. And upon seeing Dido, he decides it's probably not a good idea to do that, given that there's clearly so much affection for her. So that is where we know that she didn't dine with the family formally. But the rest of it, again, is piecing together those little bits that people write. There's even a piece, and I have to try and remember which Jane Austen book it's in, but it refers to Elizabeth, who lives in Lord Mansfield's home, and it sort of refers to her as being very, very boring. And I thought, well, that's clearly not the Elizabeth that I wanted to put up on screen, because she's not boring.
And Jane Austen was a friend of Elizabeth, was she not?
Well, that's what we believe, and that's the great thing about the book that Paula Byrne has written, is it's looking at the connection between Austen and Dido and the Mansfield family, and even perhaps the implication that Mansfield Park was somehow, that title and some of the goings-on were influenced by the Mansfield family.
And it's interesting that it's the 200th anniversary of Mansfield Park. And,
yes.
And it's just coincidence that the movie is coming out.
It is coincidence, but it's a good one.
More questions? Yes, right here.
The other coincidence is that, right now we had Lupita Nyong'o on the cover of People and Kerry Washington. The Scandal is, popular. But when you started, none of that was happening.
No.
So how did you feel like it was going to go forward and that it would be accepted? Right now it is a great time to accept it, but back then it wouldn't have been. So what was your...
It's really interesting. I would say the majority of any population doesn't really want to deem themselves as racist. And we all have areas in life that we're drawn to and areas of life that we're not so drawn to. The thing about this is I've never met a racist who didn't like me, in the sense that, whenever they're telling me their racist stories and ideas, it's never me, it's those other people, right? It's never me. And so my belief has always been, no matter who you're speaking to in an audience, that when someone knows you personally, it's very, very difficult for them to dislike you simply based on the colour of your skin or your culture. I mean, they have to be very dim to go forward in that way. And so I wanted to paint a picture of Dido Bell, for want of a better phrase, that would allow everybody to get to know her and walk in her shoes. And I truly believe that even though we were not in a period that, where this new renaissance was happening, that if I got that opportunity, if financiers were willing to back that audiences, this would be a universal story, and audiences would connect to her because her story is universal. This is great for little girls everywhere, but particularly for little girls of colour who, like me, grew up never seeing themselves reflected this way, but always being in love with the romance of a period drama, being in love with the romance of Austen, and knowing that they could never see themselves reflected in anything other than in a subservient place. This would be something that would change that from here onwards.